Budget flyers beware, US airlines are announcing big changes. Southwest Airlines is ditching a much-loved perk. Starting in May, free checked bags are history for those flying in economy. Economy passengers lose free flight changes as well. It's all about increasing revenue, seemingly at travellers' expense. This comes as Southwest, Delta, American and JetBlue all slashed their outlooks, citing low consumer confidence and domestic demand. Meanwhile, European airliners saw their shares plunge last week amid US recession warnings. British Airways owner IAG, as well as Air France, KLM, experienced big sell-offs. For more insight into the changes coming to the travel industry and what this means for passengers, I'm joined by Henry Harteveldt. He's the President and Travel Industry and Analyst at Atmosphere Research Group, a strategic market research firm focused on the travel sector. Henry, great to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us. Now, what do these changes tell us about the state of the travel and hospitality industry as a whole, do you think?
Sally, I would say that it is a state of nervous concern, but not panic. About a month and a half ago, I was in Singapore about a month ago for the 2025 Aviation Festival Asia conference. There was a lot of concern there about the possible impact of tariffs on both business and tourism demand and possible chilling in the relationship between countries in the Asia-Pac region and the US. There certainly is anxiety, obviously, in Europe, and here in the US, of course, we have heard, as you noted, several airlines say that they're seeing demand slowing. Obviously, the economy is not as robust as it once was. Travel is a discretionary purchase, and there's a lot of concern here whether the summer travel season will be as good and as profitable as last year's.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? Obviously, the economy is not what it was, but is that a hangover from COVID, or are there some other factors at play here that's increased concern for airliners?
And Sally, that's a good question. No, it's not related to COVID at all. It is related to the current state of the economy, political moves such as tariffs, chilling of relations between certain countries, for example, between the US and Canada. And we've seen Canadians cancel their trips to the US en masse. We are seeing Canadians who own properties in the US, second homes, winter homes, things like that, put those on the market to list them to sell. And we are seeing fewer international visitors say they want to come to the US, whether it's for business or leisure. And from the US, again, because travel is discretionary, we're seeing some slowdown in bookings for this summer season, although again, no one is yet pressing the panic button.
So is it fair to say that there are some sort of specific regions or markets that are more affected than others by these specific changes? Like, Florida, for example, a lot of Canadians, are losing their homes there or not flying there. And what is the kind of micro impact on some of these economies?
So yeah, Florida will feel the impact. The sale of the homes in Florida won't matter as much as the fall off in Canadian travelers and international visitors, because these travelers tend to stay longer and spend slightly more money than American domestic travelers. So this will hit Florida, Southern California, Arizona, Las Vegas, certainly New York and destinations in the Northeast and some other places like that. But within the US, and 80% of domestic travel spending is within the US, we're going to see slowdowns. I think you're going to see people opting for shorter trips, opting for less expensive hotels, cutting back on spending in the destination, whether it's dining, shopping, entertainment, theme parks, things like that. And this may ironically turn out to be good for the budget airlines because in a down cycle, people look for cheaper fares, and depending on the airline, if budget fares are better, they may opt for them. And with less brand loyalty to airlines, more people will be shopping for flights than we've seen in the past.
So what advice then would you give travellers who are concerned about potential disruptions or, increased costs?
Well, I would say that actually the good side, the upside to this uncertainty is we may see airfares and hotel rates, cruise costs come down. So do your shopping. If you're planning your summer travel, start now, shop regularly. And what I always tell people is if you find, whether it's flights, hotel accommodations, a cruise that meets your budget, book it. Don't try to game it. It's like Las Vegas, the house will always win. But with airfares, most airlines will let you cancel and get a travel credit, and then you can rebook at a lower price, and you spend the rest of that travel credit on a later trip. Book refundable hotel rates so that if you see a lower rate, you can cancel the higher price room and rebook at a lower cost. And be flexible. Look at alternative airports. Look at hotels that may be a little further out from the city center, and do your research and your shopping. Don't just go to the sites you normally use. Use the search engines to find other options because they may have better deals.
Now, you mentioned all of the policy and political, issues that are extending into fears of a recession. It's hard to imagine that there'll be a period of recovery or stabilization for the travel industry if the economy remains unstable for some time. Is there, a calmer path forward? Should we expect things to remain challenging moving forward?
Well, again, I'm not an economist. I'm certainly not a government policy leader. But what I will say is the travel industry is very flexible. So we've already seen United announce that it intends to ground 21 of its aircraft currently operating. And the airline has more than 1,000 airplanes in its fleet. So it's a small number of aircraft. But if the industry sees a prolonged decrease in demand, they will park older, less fuel-efficient airplanes until demand returns. If the demand if the recession or the soft economic period looks like it will be a longer period, a year or more, we may see airlines reconfigure their planes with fewer premium seats, fewer business class and premium economy seats, for example, and more economy seats. We may see more discounted airfares become available. So we may see airlines adjust their route networks as they did during COVID and as they do often when recessions or slowing demand occurs. They'll put the planes where the demand is, and they'll take them out of the routes that will be less profitable. It's tougher for hotels. You can't move a hotel from the city center to a thriving suburb. But they'll find ways to manipulate their business and manage well. Cruise lines will also adjust their itineraries in ships where they see demand is strongest.
Henry Harteveldt, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.